Hello, and welcome to Dining with Death. This episode is on my playlist, Dining with the Deceased, where we talk about places that are supposedly haunted. I take you on a tour of the haunted area, and then of course, we eat in that location. Before we get started, remember to like the video. If you like the video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, and you can always join my Patreon. I'm Stacy Lee. Let's begin. There is nothing in this world like a grand old hotel, and today I am taking you to the grandest of the grands. Even in the world of historic, architecturally unique, beautiful hotels, this one stands alone. Hotel del Coronado sits on Coronado Island just off the coast of San Diego, California. This living legend was established 130 years ago and has hosted everyone from U.S. presidents to Marilyn Monroe. She was built in 1888 by Elisha Babcock Jr. and Hampton L. Story, who purchased the entire island in 1886 with the specific intention of building a hotel that would, quote, be the talk of the Western world. Elisha said he wanted people to continue to come long after he was gone, and come they have. The developers held a land auction selling off building lots for potential residents. They raised what was for the time an astonishing amount of money doing this, $2.5 million. With that, a stenographer was brought to the beach, and he sat for days creating this rendering of what the hotel would look like. A groundbreaking ceremony was held in January of 1887 and construction began. 250 men went to work using Douglas fir and California redwood to build this massive structure. When the hotel opened, people came in droves to see it. I don't think it's possible to overstate how stunning the woodwork inside this hotel is. Frankly, I've never seen anything like it, and every time I come here, I'm just as amazed as I was the last time I was here. To think of all the hands that spent hours and hours perfectly crafting each little detail so long ago is really quite something. To stand in this lobby that looks almost identical to what it looked like 130 years ago, and think of all the people who have passed through this room wearing everything from Victorian dress to 1930s Hollywood glamour to 1950s formal wear, it's fascinating. Every detail is immaculate, and each element has a story all its own. The chandeliers in the famous Crown Room were designed by L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, who would stay here at the hotel for months at a time and loved it. The architect of the hotel, James W. Reed, designed this incredible piece of stained glass, which is known as the Coronation Window. You get to Coronado Island by way of a long bridge. The drive is beautiful and calming. You can see the shoreline of San Diego as you drive away, heading towards the island, and the closer you get to the hotel, the stronger the smell of the ocean. It's just dreamy. As you pull up to the hotel and she stands looming over you, there's always a feeling of welcome and peace here. The place just has good vibes. The grounds are absolutely luxurious and lush, and they are maintained to absolute perfection. Even in the dead of summer and the heat, the gardeners make sure there is not a wilted bloom or a dried leaf. It feels like you're in a tropical garden. Birds of paradise dot the shrubbery, and the sound of water fountains fills the air. Once you are here, you have stepped into a very special place, and the sights, the sounds, and the smells never let you forget just how special it is. The stark white siding and the red domed roofs are so iconic that you could show most people a photo of this old girl and they'd recognize it. They might not be able to tell you exactly where the hotel is, but she seems familiar, even to those who have never been here. The trees on the property are as old as the hotel is. They stand like guardians to the entrance, watching over the hotel and all its visitors, reminding them that they were here first. This is their home. We are just visiting. This tree holds a special place in history. This was the first outdoor living tree to ever be lit with electric Christmas lights. Back then, the tree wasn't much more than a sapling, and the lights only went halfway up, but it was something to behold in that day and age. This red dome covers the grand ballroom where thousands of weddings, parties, and balls have been attended for over a century. The flags on top of the turrets are simply iconic. The hotel wouldn't be the same without them. They're such a small detail in the grand scheme of things, yet they quite literally make the hotel's silhouette what it is. I think the flags are a great metaphor for the hotel. The details make the difference. The grounds are so posh, but so naturally beautiful at the same time. The water fountains are stately and dramatic, but the sound that comes from them makes you want to lie down and take a nap next to them. And the fountains lead to this long, sweeping canopy that guides you to the entrance of the hotel. As you enter the doors, you encounter a feast for the eyes. There is so much to see and take in that it's almost overwhelming. We actually just stood there in silence for a few minutes, and then I wanted to sit down and enjoy it all, just kind of feel the space. I know I mentioned the woodwork before, but my friends, just look at this. It is spectacular. Those of you who work with your hands and create things, you know what kind of time this takes. Even the cleaning and the maintaining of the wood must be a monumental task, but the hotel staff undertakes it, caring for each and every plank like it's brand new. This massive chandelier, dripping in crystals, hangs against the earthy wood tones and seems to sparkle even brighter because of them. The lobby is full of orchids and plants, and then there is this wall of old hotel keys that I found absolutely fascinating. Unfortunately, they are not the original keys to the hotel. That would be great, but they've replicated them, and I love that. The elevator is a hard pass for me, but that doesn't mean I can't admire its beauty. Think about all of the human beings this elevator has hauled up and down throughout the decades. For many, it was probably a rare thing to ride on an elevator at all. We took the grand stairs to the second floor and began to explore. The furniture throughout the hotel is stately, and the walls are dotted with vintage photographs of people dressed in attire from days gone by, people who have long been gone into the ether. You're closer to the wood ceilings on the second floor, and the detail becomes even more impressive as you look closer. And then you enter the guest room hallways. Each and every corridor is splashed with this very graphic and vibrant mural, red and white striped umbrellas sitting on the beach, looking straight at you. Isn't it great? It's a very bold design choice and one that really makes this hotel stand out. It's an iconic choice, something everyone remembers once they've stayed here. And I love a hotel that makes these different design choices. All of the interior rooms look down onto this massive and magnificent courtyard. We're going to take you there in a moment. We continued up to the third floor where again the beautiful umbrella murals greet you. We walked through the halls until we came to the most infamous room in the hotel. The reason we're here today. I'm going to share the ghost story with you momentarily. Back towards the lobby, gorgeous stained glass windows are installed. Aren't these incredible? And from this second-story perch, you can see down onto the lobby floor. I always love curling up in a corner in a public place and watching people when I'm kind of hidden from view. Boy, that sounded a lot creepier than I wanted it to. I guess what I'm saying is I enjoy people watching, and this is the perfect place to do it. Up here on the second story, the floors creak very loudly, and it took my contractor husband about 0.01 seconds to start talking about how unlevel the floor is. And he means really out of level. You can actually feel the floor sinking as you walk closer to the walls because of settling. But here in this spot sits the piece of stained glass called the coronation window that I mentioned earlier. This stunning piece was designed by the architect of the hotel, James Reed. It used to sit over the main fireplace in the building, but in 2021 it was removed and fully restored and then reinstalled at its new location. I just think it's gorgeous, what I wouldn't give to be able to look at this every day. I know it was made before the Art Deco era, but you can kind of see some of that future style in the piece, right? Now let's go into the courtyard that sits in the center of the hotel. When I tell you I could have laid down and gone to sleep here, oh my gosh. The wind was light and breezy and the trees were waving in that breeze. It smelled of grass and tropical flowers, and it's really just a magical little place. I love the way you can see the hotel from the courtyard and watch the people as they come and go from their rooms. And I love the way the staff has placed plenty of seating and umbrellas for shade. It feels like a tropical paradise, and people were really enjoying the space. After walking around for a while, we headed to the beach. We stripped down to our swimsuits and pulled out our beach blankets, and soon we were both asleep. There's nothing like a good nap on the beach, is there? As I laid in the sand, all I could think about is the fact that I was laying right where beachgoers dressed in Victorian clothing, and then mod clothing, and then hippie clothing had stood. Everywhere you go, you can't help but think of all the people who have been here before you. It almost feels like you've time traveled. You can almost squint your eyes a little bit and see people dressed in old-timey beachwear. It's amazing. The sound of the waves crashing on the rocks lulls you to relax and then to sleep. The iconic flags on top of the hotel wave in the breeze as the beachgoers enjoy their magnificent surroundings. There was a man building a gorgeous sandcastle commissioned by the hotel for the upcoming busy weekend, and some live musicians were playing for the restaurant goers. It's all just dreamy. But as dreamy as it is, as visually stunning and as historic and famous as it is, the Hotel del Coronado might be most famous for being haunted. And there are good reasons that many people believe this site is inhabited by ghosts. In 1892, this beautiful young woman named Kate Morgan checked into the Hotel del Coronado. She arrived alone and unhappy on Thanksgiving Day. Employees would later report that when Kate checked into the hotel, she told some staff members she was waiting for a gentleman to join her. For one day and then two, Kate wandered the property waiting for her companion. From the moment she checked in, it was apparent that she was sad. She was troubled. As the days wore on, Kate's mood became increasingly dark. Day 3 came and went, then day 4. Kate's gentleman friend never arrived. She traveled into downtown San Diego on the 4th day and bought a handgun. She then returned to Hotel Del and took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. She walked down this hallway and opened this door, the door leading to room 3327, where she was staying. As we stood in the hallway filming, the maid working on the room next door told us that the numbers continuously disappear from the door placard and have to be replaced constantly. That's why the fonts don't match. We asked the maid if she had ever seen or heard anything strange. There was a bit of a language barrier, but she did say, "I don't like that room." Kate Morgan entered this room on that night so many years ago, sat on the edge of the bed, and used the gun to take her own life. Police were called to the hotel but could find no documentation to identify who the pretty dead woman was. So a description of Kate was sent via telegraph to police agencies around the country. Newspapers all across the states printed the story, and Kate became known as the beautiful stranger. Finally, Kate's identity was confirmed, and we learned more of her story. Kate Morgan was married, but estranged from her husband. She worked as a domestic employee in a wealthy household in Los Angeles. Over the Thanksgiving break, Kate took the train. People remembered her because she had a very obvious argument with the man she was traveling with. And then, at the next stop, the man got up and deserted Kate, leaving her on the train. People surmised that this man was Kate's lover and that the two were going to stay at Hotel del Coronado for a rendezvous. When the man deserted her, Kate traveled on to her destination, hoping her lover would follow her. When he did not, Kate ended it all. From the time of Kate's early demise, guests and employees alike have attested to paranormal activity in the hotel. Most of the activity occurs on the 3rd floor, where Kate spent the majority of her stay. Guests report flickering lights, a television that turns itself off and on, even when the television is replaced, and breezes that come into the room from nowhere. We talked with one staff member who said more than once in his 10 years at the hotel, guests staying on the 3rd floor have packed up and left in the middle of the night, convinced that something very spooky was happening in the hotel. Many people report items that move around the rooms on their own, doors that open on their own and then slam shut, ghostly footsteps and voices in the hallways when no one is there, and inexplicable smells like floral perfume and cigar smoke that suddenly appear in their room when the doors and windows are closed. Many people claim that their hotel room suddenly gets very, very cold, and some have even reported a hand on their face or back. Paranormal investigators have visited the hotel and claim to have documented supernatural activity in room 3327. Some claim to have seen Kate themselves, and others claim to have spoken with her. Guests and staff alike have reported seeing Kate in the hotel hallways and along the beach. And then there is the hotel gift shop, where employees routinely witness items falling off the shelves when no one is in the shop. Sometimes objects even go flying off the shelves. Kate Morgan was a very distraught woman who, in a moment of overwhelming sadness, made a dire decision. It doesn't surprise me in the least that any ghost would choose to make Hotel del Coronado its forever home. It's so beautiful here, so perhaps Kate is one of them. She was waiting for her lover who never came and who never claimed her. Perhaps she is here, waiting still. Now, as we always do on this playlist, we eat in our haunted location. This is Dining with Death. I really wanted to take you to the American Barbecue restaurant here, but it doesn't open until 5 o'clock, and we were here in the morning. In fact, most of the restaurants here at the Del don't open until 5, so we opted to get some casual fare on the veranda. This is Eno Market and Pizzeria. The restaurant features a small market with grab-and-go sandwiches, coffees, and pastries, and a full menu of rustic artisanal pizzas, along with small bites like focaccia, marinated olives, meatballs, and cheese boards. We ordered the 4-cheese pizza, and it was fantastic. The crust had that beautiful crunch that only comes from very, very high heat, and the cheese was bubbly and stretchy. The tomato sauce was bright and tangy and obviously made from very good tomatoes. I like these kinds of pizzas because they're simple yet stunning when all the ingredients are top quality. Jason knows I love a little bite of sweet after I eat, and he grabbed me one of the red velvet cupcakes from the case. Look at this little beauty. The cream cheese icing was rich and creamy, and the cake was moist and tender. It was a very nice, casual little lunch, sitting here next to this grand hotel as we listened to the waves crash on the beach. We very much enjoyed our visit to the Hotel del Coronado, famous the world over for its beauty, its history, and for the ghosts who have decided it's so grand, they'll stay forever. Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death, Dining with the Deceased. Hit the like button if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to join my Patreon, it keeps the channel alive, and in the end we have a big goal. That is to raise money to donate to police departments that have cold case DNA in storage that cannot be tested because there's no money to test it. We want to help with that. Stay safe and be kind to each other, and I will see you next time on Dining with Death. Bye.